All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to I'll name this segment later. GTG spits that grease, so on and so forth. Title forever in the works. Let's go get ready for this. Let me just get right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question to pose to you. Do you think DSP regrets marrying Cat? Because I gotta tell you, I'm starting to think that DSP regrets marrying Cat. Every time DSP decides to exhibit or present examples on why him and Cat's relationship is so good and why he doesn't need other outside factors or other components to be added to his life, his first major excuse is, hey man, I'm married. I found my soulmate. I mean, maid, soul mom, whatever. I'm happy. I'm content. I don't need anybody else in my life. Now, as I've tried to preach to you for many years, that this is utilitarianism. You don't exist in DSP's world unless you serve a purpose. And the more he describes him and Cat's relationship, their marriage, which isn't a marriage, by the way, it's an arrangement. It is a partnership of two losers that couldn't make it on their own, and that's why they came together, no pun intended, because clearly no one has come together in that house in a while. Anyway, the reason why they came together in this partnership, in this mutually beneficial arrangement, was because they couldn't do better elsewhere. Now, recently, you're actually seeing it right now. Don't worry, I'll put the clip in this later. He talks recently about him and Cat's relationship, about how, hey, do you miss being part of the FGC? Do you miss not actually socializing with people? You know, so on and so forth. And he says, Cat's all I want. Cat's all that I need. I don't have time to fit in friends. Why would I? I don't spend enough time with her. So how am I going to bring friends into the situation? So on and so forth. You guys have heard the pig and horse show more times than even I can go ahead and regurgitate to you. My thing is, if you care about this woman so damn much, then why do you stream so much? If you say that you're affluent and everything's good and everything like that, why aren't you taking off, you know what I'm saying, 2 days or more in the week? Why do you stream twice a day? If you're really so affluent and you're doing so well, and you know what I'm saying, money's not so much of a problem anymore because you can buy all these Pokemon cards. My understanding is you're starting to get in the Magic the Gathering cards now, which that's going to cost you a pretty penny. You were better off going into Yu-Gi-Oh first and then doing Magic the Gathering, but semantics. Let the piggy play his cards out. You have all the money to spend on all this bullshit, but you don't have time or the money to go ahead and spend with Cat and take some extra days off. But that's weird though, because every time we hear about you and Cat having a day off, you guys are running errands all day. So you're not actually doing anything. And then let's say you have 2 days consecutively. If you run all your errands on the first day, on the second day, you guys are just lounging around waiting for the DoorDash to show up. So how much time are you actually spending with her, and what are you guys actually doing? So there's that problem. So,
Nothing here asked, do I miss the adrenaline of in-person Street Fighter battles? I think people don't give you enough credit for competing and doing well. It's a whole other thing to do in person. Yeah, it's fun. It really is. I enjoyed my time as much as it is part of my past, and I'm not going back to that lifestyle. I enjoyed, when I was younger, traveling the country, meeting people from all different walks of life, all different places, absorbing their culture when I was there, having different kinds of food, different kinds of weather, and just hanging out, meeting people, and having a good time. You know, back then, it wasn't like today where everything was online. So the only real way you would get exposure to new techniques and new gameplay elements and new strategies was to travel and play competitively in person against people, right? You had to. So, you know, I would fly to Texas and be in Texas Showdown. I'd meet a whole bunch of cool people. I'd play against them and learn strategies. They'd see mine. We'd have a great time together. And I'd get some good food. We'd go out and get some meals together, some good food. We'd hang out and talk about stuff. Then I'd go to California and I'd meet a whole completely different kind of people. Different climate, different culture, different food. You know, it was neat at that point in my life, just traveling and doing that. If it wasn't for Street Fighter, I don't know if I would have gone half the places I did, met half the people I did, and had the experiences that I did. But it's definitely in my past. You know, now that I'm middle-aged and I have a successful YouTube presence and streaming career, I don't really care to go traveling and go to tournaments anymore. Is it cool to meet people and hang out? Yeah, like right now, I bet you, if I were to go to any tournament, let's say I drove to Seattle and I entered a local, You know, it would be cool to meet all the local players and see their techniques. I'm sure they would kick my ass because I don't play the modern fighting games that much. But it'd be cool to just be part of that scene. But at the same time, that was a time of my life when, you know, I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't have anything going on. So it didn't matter if I traveled and I was gone for a week and I was sitting in a freaking ballroom or a convention center or wherever, hanging out playing video games, sitting in a hotel room playing video games. I had nothing else to do. Today I'm married. I'm happy. You know, I don't want to drop everything to go travel to a tournament. I don't really care to, you know, so life changes, things get better. It's like, well, I'm happy where I am. I don't want to, you know, go back to my lifestyle when I was in my 20s. Listen to this. You can have Cat watch Jasper. Why not go to a local and make friends? Because I'm middle-aged, I'm married, I'm happy. I don't need to go make more friends. Does that make sense? I have a full life. I'm very busy. I work a lot. I want to spend more time with my wife when I can. I don't get to spend enough time with Kat. I don't want to spend less time with her to go somewhere and meet new friends. I want to spend more time with the person who I married. Does that make sense? I mean, I guess maybe it doesn't for people who don't. Like, you don't have a significant other, you're not married, you don't get it, maybe, okay. But, like, this is what I'm telling you. Like, I made this life choice many years ago. I said, oh, I want to be with this person forever. Okay, it's not just a legal contract. It's an emotional thing. It's everything. I want to be with her forever. I want to spend as much time with her as possible. I don't really care to now say, oh, I made a mistake. I want to go spend time with other people. No, I'm happy now. Right? Here, let me make an analogy. Ready? Let's make an analogy. All right? So let's say you sit down at a table and someone puts down an amazing gourmet Subway sandwich. Not Subway. Okay, I said the wrong thing. A gourmet submarine sandwich. And it's got everything you've ever wanted, right? That you ever wanted. You say, oh, man, this is going to be my best meal ever. And you go for the meal. You commit to it. You're eating it. You're loving it, right? But then on the other side of the table, someone puts down a pizza, right? Well, that pizza could be good. But you've already got the ideal in front of you. You already got the best sandwich possible. Why would you say, oh, well, now I'm going to leave the sandwich and go have the pizza? You're eating the best sandwich ever. You already got there. You're already happy. You're already good, right? Be happy with what you have. You don't always have to be seeking more. I already won the lottery, get it? Like, I already met the love of my life. I'm happy. I have no desire to now go make 10 more, 20 more, 40 more, 100 more friends. I'm happily married. But again, a lot of people would not understand that. They really wouldn't get that. They'd be like, oh, I'm confused. Don't you want more friends? Don't you want to do this? Don't you want to do that? No, I'm already exhausted with how much I'm doing. I don't need more. Does that make sense? Like, sure, is it possible I could stream less and spend less time with my wife to go to a tournament in Seattle and play Street Fighter? Yes, that's possible. But it probably wouldn't make me more happy. In fact, I'd just be more stressed out because I'm taking on even more that I really don't want to take on. Does that make sense? I hope so.
Back to my original question to you. Does DSP regret marrying Kat? I'll go ahead and just start the ball off, if you will, if you don't mind. I think, yeah. I think he hold on, let me get this right here going before that shit becomes a problem. Yeah, I do think he regrets marrying her. I think that he only married her to lock her down so the same thing that happened with Panda doesn't happen with her. Because we all knew that he was going to put that workhorse out there the moment she touched down. And outside of a couple of things, she didn't go to work for like the first month and a half. But the moment she got back to work, if she's not locked in, or if she doesn't think that there's not some type of long-term commitment, she could have easily fallen into the situation that Panda did. And Kat back then, despite the raccoon makeup, was she was okay. You know what I'm saying? She was all right. She was workable, right? She was workable. And so DSP had to put a ring on that shit. He had to lock her down as quickly as he could, because if not, without that long form commitment, which is what Panda always wanted, she was going buck. He couldn't afford that. Here's the problem. One, he knew that chick had baggage. He knew that aspects of their relationship or of her previous relationship was going to come out. He knew some of her family stuff was going to come out. And I don't think even he had a grasp on exactly what that was and what that was going to entail. But once it got out, his supermodel, you know, his supermodel wife or whatever looked like any other piece of damaged goods out there. Now, I know. Some of you can be like, yo, GTG, you're going way too far with that, calling her damaged goods. What the fuck is wrong with you? This, that, and the... If you guys want fucking sympathy and shit, you want compassion, you want understanding, you take this shit over there to alt. I'm giving it to you the way I've served it. That's the way it was. And let's be honest, everybody has baggage. Everybody has baggage. That chick was damaged goods from the rip. She was damaged goods from the rip. She needed someone who was going to be that compassion, that understanding. That's what she needed, not DSP. And DSP knew that girl was compromised. That's why he took her. And that's why he made sure to cut her off from all avenues and mold her into what he always thought Panda would be. The problem is Kat was stuck in her own ways. A weeb through and through and through. So she wasn't gonna sit there and do anything. She was willing to play the part for a little while. Remember when she first got there, that first, let's say 3 or 4 months, all the cooking, allegedly, all the cleaning and all this extra bullshit and whatever, she played nice with that until she got a job. And then when she got a job, she had a gym membership. You guys remember that? She had a gym membership. She used to go to work. The timing of when she went to work was kind of strange because sometimes she went in the morning, sometimes she did evenings, and then she would go to the gym afterwards before she came home. And then and DSP was cool with talking about that for the first few months. And then all of a sudden, or for a while, it was probably more than a few months. And then all of a sudden, she wasn't going to the gym no more. Then all of a sudden, he needed to get her an exercise bike, or she wanted an exercise bike because she couldn't go to the gym anymore for some unexplainable reason. Then DSP botches the exercise bike, which was paid by his parents it was paid for, sorry, by DSP's parents, by the way. It was either a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. DSP botches the assembly of it. They end up refunding it because, of course, it had to be someone else's fault because it couldn't be DSP's. Then DSP blows the money on bills. Her birthday money or Christmas money or whatever it was that Phil's parents sent her eventually ends up getting blown. And obviously, detractors, trolls, haters, and critics gave him shit over that. And then that's when the weight gain started. And my thing is, what I'm saying now is either she had an underlying condition that she didn't know about, and maybe, well, he certainly didn't know about it, but maybe she didn't know about, maybe she got sick, maybe DSP finally had to buckle down, put her on the insurance, take her to the hospital or whatever, and then they're like, yeah, she's got some issues that we're gonna need to work out. And then that led to the weight gain on top of obviously all the DoorDash and the lack of panty time, which will mess with a female's hormones. You know what I'm saying? If you know what I'm saying, you ain't catching no loving. So, you know, there's all kinds of issues and reasons. DSP just wanted her to exist for his existence. But now she's compromised. She has some problems. She has some issues. And now he has to deal with that. Now she's become a burden. And the way you hear him describe her, not just, you know, the offhanded jokes about being fat and all this other shit, you know what I'm saying? And shit, damn near hinting that the chick's actually retarded, as well as other things. It's very clear that now she's become a real burden on him. If DSP is forced to take care of her and whatnot, anything that's disrupting his convenience is now becoming a problem. Yeah, I think he's starting to regret marrying that chick. But he's part of the problem. The reason why she is the way she is now is really because of him. If you had let that chick keep going to the gym, if you kept trying, if he didn't try to isolate her, if he didn't try to regiment her into getting up, making him food, going to work, then coming home, ordering DoorDash and rinse and repeat, and if he actually gave that woman a semblance of what a life could be, then their marriage would be better. Instead, he spends literally all day locked into that little room there, which has now become his own prison, because he don't like what's outside that door. He don't like what's outside that room. He's ashamed of it, I think. I honestly think he's ashamed of it. And he's ashamed of her. Even though he knows he's at fault. Because when you see Panda before, you know, when they were dating early on, and then after he isolated her ass from her family and moved her to fucking Seattle, you saw her too. She was starting to put on weight. You know what I'm saying? There's a pizza review that they did Spent like $40 on like 2 pizzas or some shit, and she's caught scratching her snatch in that. That's kind of funny for those of you who remember that one. She got caught with a little bit of an itch, whatever that was. You know what I'm saying? Her whole, like, how she carried herself was different. She didn't carry herself with the type of pride, which is hard to use the word pride in anything that's associated with DSP, but she didn't have the type of pride or respectability in her dress anymore. But then again, DSP didn't want to take her nowhere. He didn't want her to do anything except for sit at home and cook and clean and basically pamper him after a hard day of being trolled. Then money slowed up, and then she had to get a job. Then when she got out there and got a job around people around her age and whatnot, and some of the guys were giving her some looks, or, you know what I'm saying, hey, how you doing, this, that, and the third, she slowly but surely started to rebuild her confidence back, which is what led to her eventually leaving his ass. To be honest, same thing with Kat. He locked her down, he completely isolated her and shit, and what'd she do? She gained a shitload of weight. Any interest that she really had, if it doesn't align with DSP, he don't give a fuck, or she needs to abandon it. Now that woman don't care about nothing. And then with excessive weight gain, especially over a short amount of time, a few years, that's inevitably going to lead to health problems. And then you look at DSP now right there, he looks all sick and fucked up too. So now it's a race to, and this is just my own personal opinion, now it's a race for him to try to get himself as healthy as possible, try to get himself in shape, try to get himself to be somewhat normal, if that's even a thing, as quickly as he can, and then hopefully try to get Kat back to where she was before it gets so bad that now he has to basically take care of her 24/7 and there's nobody to take care of him. And then I want you to think about this, and now we're going to get into the dark part. So if you have any criticisms of me, well, feel free to speak it out either which way. But if you have any really criticisms that's going to come out of this, I can understand what's coming up next. If that chick dies on him, what the fuck is he gonna do? $7,000-8,000 to get her into the ground, unless he goes the El Cheapo route. I'm just kidding. There's nothing El Cheapo about that. But unless he gets her cremated, which will probably be the easier route, is he gonna send her fucking ashes back to her family, or is he gonna just dust it out there in the backyard? And then how's he gonna explain that to his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics when her death certificate come out? How are you gonna, when her obituary hits the newspaper, whether he writes it or not? How's he gonna explain that? Assholes like me are gonna literally be like, he killed that girl. He killed that woman. And who's gonna argue against me? Well, there'll be a few people to argue against me. I can name your favorite detractor right now who would actually argue against me on that. But he killed that girl. He killed that woman. And now that's hanging over his head. So not only are you a massive piece of shit who don't give a fuck about your parents and you're waiting for them to die off, you haven't talked to any of your extended family in years unless you needed money, and you weren't even man enough to go to them directly. You had to go through your mother to do that shit. You blame your lesbian, you're dead, and you're deceased. Let me try to give it a little bit more respect. You blamed your deceased aunt for not leaving your family any of her money, which apparently she was as much of a piece of shit as the rest of you. So she wasn't doing that shit. For having the condition of gout and not disclosing it to any of you, which I don't know why she would do that anyway, because you're not her kid, so why would that be, why are you her concern? That don't make no damn sense. And you blame your mother for why your hairline's all fucked up and shit. And if any of y'all bring up Vegeta, if I was someone who banned or blocked, you'd be banned or blocked, but luckily for you, I don't. But you might get a rage thing out of me next video, and I might call out names if y'all do it. Don't do it. Don't say nothing about Vegeta's Will's Peak or none of that shit in my comment section, bro. Don't do it. Just don't. And I don't ask you guys not to do much, but don't do that. You're gonna probably do it anyway. But I need to feel like I'm an authority here. I want to feel like I'm in control of the situation. I want to feel like I'm in control of the situation. Don't do that. On top of that, I'm just kidding. Do what you want. So you blame your family for all these issues that you have. You know what I'm saying? For all these problems and so on and so forth. If something happened, like I said, an asshole, if that chick falls before DSP does, I'm blaming all that shit on him. And people are gonna believe it too. People are gonna believe it too. All those years, all those clips of him talking shit, throwing jabs at her and all that bullshit like that, he can say he was just jesting, he can say it was all banter and this, that, and third. Now that if that chick dies, then what? She was relatively healthy, at least physically. Mentally, probably not. But physically, she was relatively healthy when she stepped into that house. If she dies in under 10 years, then what, Phil? You gonna blame that shit on Tevin? You gonna blame that shit on Secret Limited? You gonna blame that shit on Evil AJ? You gonna blame that shit on SnortBucks? Who you gonna blame it on, Phil? You're the one that was supposed to be taking care of her? I think he's in a position where he wants to change up. I think it's time to start hitting the market. I think it's time to go ahead and get himself back out there. Now, I don't think he's really going to do that. But I think if he thought he could, he probably would. He doesn't want to spend the rest of the... he doesn't want to spend the next year or two dealing with that. Imagine. I want you to really imagine. Because we already hear about the horse walking that he does. Where he has to... he's going to go on a break or whatever. Or in between shifts. Shifts. Funny. In between streams, he has to take her for a walk for a certain period of time. Or whatever. That sounds clearly like a doctor health type situation. What happened if that chick gets bedridden, Phil? What happened if that chick becomes immobile? Now you got to bring food to her 3 times a day, as well as snacks and stuff. You might have to help her change. You're going to have to bathe her. Then you got to figure out how you're going to get her downstairs so you can get her into the car so you can get her the doctor's appointments and shit. You talk about how you're middle-aged and, you're starting to break down this, that, and the third. That's funny you never mention her, though. And even though she's younger than you, she's in worse shape than you are. So how are you going to figure that out? And I bet you that's what he's thinking about. And I think it scares him. I think it scares him to death. Because now he doesn't get to sit there and work and have his business, in air quotes. Now he has to actually take care of somebody else. Someone else that he supposedly loves and gives a shit about. But not enough so, though, to make sure that she didn't get herself in bad health or anything like that. As long as his well-being was okay, as well as he could present himself or present the image that he was doing well and everything in his life was hunky-dory, he really wasn't worried about her until now he's going to be forced to. So, in conclusion, yeah, I think he regrets marrying her. Yeah, I think he regrets some of the nonsense that she's going through health-wise and maybe what he's going through health-wise. But of course, obviously, he did nothing wrong. He did everything correct. So it has to be her fault. And he's resented that woman since she got there, to be honest with you. Because he wanted her to go to work right away. Couldn't. There was all kinds of things they had to work out. They had to get her license, which took a little while, this, that, and the third. He said that she had a job in Michigan. I don't know. I've seen enough of Cat's material to think that's probably not the case. If not, it was probably only part-time. And she was transferring jobs from Michigan to Seattle. Well, that clearly didn't happen. That chick didn't work for a month and a half. Almost 2. No transfer is going to let you sit around that long. So that's a lie. And then she hopped around from job to job for a while. Hell, there was one point that he implied that she had worked 2 jobs just so they could keep that life together that they have, in air quotes. So for all we know, given what the schedule kind of looks like, because you don't really mention it, it sounds like she works part-time. But one can make the argument, I know I certainly have, that maybe she doesn't work at all. And I bet you those medical bills are starting to stack up. And sorry, Phil, just taking a magical pill and hoping everything works out doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. Does that chick have high blood pressure? Her gaining all that weight would imply that. She got liver or kidney problems? What's some of her vitals look like? How's some of her blood testing results looking like? This isn't like Jasper. She really needs this. If Jasper passes away, and I hate to say this, because I got, you know what I'm saying, Agent Jasper of the DIA, I got a lot of love for him, but let's be honest, Jasper, we already have the star ready to go on the plaque that's on the wall for all of our fallen ones. You already know that you're there. I'm just saying. I'm just being honest. But if Jasper passes away, DSP can find another cat that looks close enough to Jasper to hide that and say, oh, this is Jasper. I don't know why people say Jasper's dead. Here's Jasper. You can't replace Cat that easily. Cat can't be replaced that easily. So it makes you wonder, it makes you think what the situation and the circumstances are really in the Snort Fort. But anyway, by now you should have already seen the clip that I've inserted in here talking about it. come to your own conclusions about it. But that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I think our boy has buyer's remorse, to be honest. She's never really been a very good shield or beard or anything like that. She's always exhibited a level of being uncomfortable around him. Always. Go to those early IRL streams they did from her actual first reveal up until the last time we saw her. It's actually rather to show even a glimpse of humanity on my part. It was actually rather sad. You know, it was rather sad seeing her up there like that. You know what I'm saying? You were two people who didn't know each other, who were trying to pass it off like you guys were in love and whatever. And that clearly wasn't it. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't it. I saw what I saw personally. I saw a very uncomfortable, desperate person willing to play a part to get to where she needed to get to. And then unfortunately, over all these years, she never built off of it. She gave up her independence and her freedom for comfort. And she's suffering the consequences from it. They both are. Whether you feel bad for that or not, I have no reason to judge you, nor will I. But mistakes were made. Real mistakes were made. And like I said, if she passes away first, believe it, I'll be the first one to say that he killed that woman. Don't be wrong, she had a choice in the matter. She is an adult, you know, a barely functioning adult, but an adult nonetheless. But he killed that woman. He is slowly but surely killing that woman. He better hope that that shit turns around, because if it don't, if the GLP-1s don't work, if the blood pressure medication don't work, if the heart medication don't work, if her vitals don't figure out or get worked out with her blood tests and shit, with her kidneys and her liver and all that bullshit, she started to become bedridden or worse, you're gonna see the stress all over his goddamn face. Some of you might remember this moment. I hope a lot of you don't. But if the worst comes to worst, he will be to blame. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. This has been I'll Name the Segment Later, GTG, Spits That Grease, so on and so forth. In closing, just take care of yourselves, people. Just, truth be told, just take care of yourselves, people. For real. Every day above ground is a win. Take care of yourselves. And just because it looks like it's a free lunch doesn't mean it's a good lunch. That's all I can really tell you. Take care, people. Later. Later.